Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. So, you've been looking to start some kind of garden. You want to do something, but you don't have this, a big area where you can do any kind of garden you could imagine. Instead, you've got something like this, a little deck or porch, patio, with just a little bit of sunlight. So you know you're going to have to plant in some kind of a container, but you've seen so many different methods, and you really aren't too interested in buying fertilizers, and you don't know what the best thing to do is. You really wish you could plant like you were out in that big garden, but you've got a porch. Can you combine the two? We think you can, and we're going to test it out. Here's how we're going to do it. Okay everybody, there's no reason you can't pick up everything I'm about to show you at a garden center, but before you do that, think about a way that you might be able to get it otherwise. You know, gardening is kind of not just a stress reliever sort of thing, but it reconnects us back to the thought process of being able to produce something ourselves, to be thrifty and be able to create something that we can use rather than just go buy it. So it might seem strange to walk up to your friend that you know has a big yard and ask them if you can come over and get a couple shovelfuls worth of dirt because you want to plant something, but that is a lot better than just going off and buying something out of the store that you don't know where it came from, you don't know how it was processed, you don't know what is actually in it or how alive the soil is. So think about doing that before you step into just buying everything. What we're going to use is a mixture of dirt. We got some of this out of our duck coop that I know is just laced with worms, and some of it's just black topsoil from another part of our property that doesn't have any worms in it, but appears to be good soil. So we're going to mix that together to try to have a good combination of things. And then a nice layer of wood chips on top of that, with of course the plant inside the container as well. And the reason I'm doing that, it's bringing the back to Eden method of trying to create nature, but inside of a container. So we can kind of make that little ecosystem inside this pot so that the plant has something to refresh the nutrients that it needs as it tries to grow. So we're actually going to be planting peppermint. My wife was looking for some true peppermint. As she explains it to me, they cross-pollinate, the mints do, and it's hard to find a true peppermint. It's one of those things that you have to get a cutting of rather than find the seeds. The seeds from this would not produce a true peppermint. She got these from a local farmer that we found down at Meridian Main Street's Earth's Bounty, and we're going to go ahead and plant these in several different containers so we can have them at the front and back of the house, and she wants one also inside of our office because she just likes to pick off and eat the mint leaves. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so you're thinking, Jared, you said I could get this stuff at the garden center, but what you're doing is using worms. You said you're making an environment where they can keep a cycle going, but I'm not going to find that at the garden center, so how am I supposed to do this in my apartment? Well, surely you have somebody that you know that has a compost pile or their own garden, someplace for you to go and get a couple trowels full of dirt that has some worms in it. You don't need a whole lot of them. They will reproduce and they will propagate, and you'll have more worms than you picked up originally in just a few months. However, if for some reason you don't have that, the same worms that they sell at the gas station or in sports shops for worms for bait for people to go fishing are the same worms I can dig out of my duck coop. There's no reason you can't go buy live bait and bring them into your environment and feed them and let them procreate and get more worms. So you don't have to go too far out of the box. Okay, if you feel like you're stuck putting fertilizers on this, then hey, I can't stop you. But there are ways for you to try to mimic nature in a container and put it on your porch. So here's the dirt that we're going to be using. It's all set up and we're going to fill up the pots. Now there is one thing about this that I'm kind of thinking might be a catch, and that is in using Back to Eden, we're retaining the moisture by having wood chips. Now, I don't plan to water these. I plan to put them out on porches and let the rain water them, except for the one that sits inside the office. So, if you're having one outdoors, think about whether or not your pot has holes for the water to come out. Because if we're retaining water so well using the wood chips, you may end up doing more damage than good if the excess water does not have a way to go out. Because in nature, it can just continue to penetrate the soil and get down and work its way down the slope. Here we're trapping it inside of a plastic or other container, so take that into account. This one that we're putting indoors, we can monitor the moisture, and whenever we think we need to add some, we can. And we should actually get more time between waterings by having the covering on top. The good news is, while I was putting all this in here, I saw a couple worms slithering around, so I'm glad that I actually got some in here. The mix that I made, a quarter of it or less is what I knew had worms in it, so I was kind of worried about, did I actually get some in here, but obviously I was able to. So now I'm going to spread some wood chips on here. We got these wood chips earlier today. We made some wood chips for bedding for our duck coop. And these are some that just managed to hit the floor, so I raked them up and we're going to put them in here. You can use just some regular mulch. Don't go getting the big deco nuts or anything, but just some regular wood chips, some mulch to put on here. Here we are. This one's done. This will sit in a windowsill in our office, and we'll check back with it every few weeks and let you guys see just how well it's filled in. Hopefully this one will fill in, because I know the reason we're putting it in the office is so she can pick at it. So I'm sure it will. But the one thing I'm worried about is I'm not familiar with mint. I know that it can go just bonkers if you put it out in an open field. But in the little containers, the roots had got very, I don't want to say root bound, because I don't know if that's how the roots are normally, but that's the only description I have for it. And so it's kind of hard to pull these out so I could separate them. So I'm hoping they're as prolific as I've been told they are, and everything will be okay. I'm going to go ahead and do the other pots, and I'll show you guys when I'm done. So here we are, container gardening using the Back to Eden method. Y'all, this is permaculture. This is imitating nature in a way that it can be self-sustaining. These will be outside in a place where they can be rained on. The rain will penetrate the wood chips and get down into the soil, give nutrients and food to the worms. The worms will in turn make manure or vermicompost, and those will have the nutrients that the plants need. Now we'll probably top dress these now and again with just a few little time release capsules from the rabbits, or rabbit manure. So that's another way that we'll kind of keep that cycle going, by imitating nature and putting something back onto the plant that would have been there in nature. So otherwise we're just going to set these out. As we can tape them enough to show some difference, we'll bring them back to you and let you see how they're doing. This is it, guys. You can do Back to Eden gardening whether you have an acre, whether you have a backyard, or whether you have an apartment complex and all you have are containers. You can do this. You can imitate nature in a container and still have the feeling that you're doing the right thing and make your life easy on yourself without having to add in a whole bunch of different things to try to keep these plants alive. So go out there and do it, and we'll see you guys next time. Hey everybody, let's check in and see how the garden's doing. Well, the first thing that's obvious to have to point out is this fence.